something watching in the dark. This happened the other night and I'm admittedly still terrified by it. I wasn't sure what to do, but I know lots of people post about this kind of thing on Reddit, so I thought maybe I should post this and see what everyone thinks. I'm writing this on Friday night, 17th of August 2018, but it happened on Tuesday. For some context, I work an early shift and have to be up at 4 in the morning, so this all happened sometime between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. I'd gone to bed early and finally fell asleep after a while, having strange and unnerving dreams, all of which I've forgotten the details of, but were your garden variety unpleasant dreams impaled in comparison to what happened when I woke up. I awoke to a suffocating feeling, a tightness in my chest where my heart was pounding. Now, an important thing to know about me is that when I'm exhausted, I couldn't care less about anything. I once thought my beloved childhood hamster had escaped, but was so tired I couldn't get up to make sure the cat couldn't get him. He wasn't in danger, but the point is I was too tired to care about the most important thing in my life at the time. When I'm tired enough, even the fact that I can hardly breathe isn't enough to alarm me. So despite the fact that my chest was tight and the air was difficult to inhale or exhale, I remained calm. I lay there on my bed, hands against my pillow by my face, my limbs frozen spread eagle, like being pinned down. I grumbled a bit to myself sleepily as I blinked awake, unsure if it was time to get up for work. The moonlight was shining through my curtains just enough to dimly light the room with a blue glow. My eyes adjusted quickly to this lighting as I slowly panned my room for signs of what could have woken me up. My rabbit, Sir Runt, was sound asleep in his cage, as was my turtle Herc, and there was no sign of any of the cats having pushed their way in through the closed door. When I finally moved my head to look upwards, ready to go back to sleep, I saw it. Hovering above my bed was a solid black mass in the form of a male about 5'8" or 5'9". He had short hair that jutted out some as if tousled, his arms were down at his sides, slightly out, and his toes slightly bent. He looked as if he'd just begun to lift off the bed or had been paused mid-bounce on the mattress, leaning towards me at about a 45-degree angle. My first thought, still half asleep and foggy-brained as I looked at the boyish shadow, like that of a teenager, was, why is Peter Pan or his shadow in my room? Ridiculous, I know. I'm a 20-year-old woman and here I am half asleep with a thing hovering above me, and I go right to cartoon characters, but again, I was exhausted from a double, almost triple shift of work that day and still half asleep. A more alert part of my mind, starting to clear from the haze of sleep only a fraction of a second later, echoed a sobering thought. In the same tone of dread you'd share bad, slightly unnerving news, a voice in my head simply reminded me, "You're an adult." The instant I thought this, my eyes flew open wide. I don't know what it was about this unnervingly calm statement in my subconscious that did it, but this snapped me wide awake. I've never felt so alert before in my life, or so terrified. The thing had bad vibes rolling off it in waves. I couldn't grasp what I was seeing, but I knew two things were undeniable as I gaped at it. I was definitely awake and this thing was definitely real. My mind moved incredibly fast. My first thought was of the unpleasant dreams I'd been having. There's an old legend about something that sits on a sleeping person's chest and brings nightmares. It's where the word comes from. This legend was my first guess as to what I was seeing, though I immediately ruled it out. I managed to force myself to slide about half a centimeter away from it, almost involuntarily gasping, "No," as I stared. I saw a flash of two red dots where eyes should be as I yanked the blanket over my head, regaining my limbs' use. I laid in the dark, wide-eyed and gasping, trembling as I tried to figure out what had been hovering over me in my sleep. I knew whatever it was wasn't good, and I refused to risk a peek from under the blanket, lest it still be there. I've experienced a lot of scary things in my relatively short life, from stalkers to wannabe kidnappers. Stories for another time perhaps, but nothing has ever scared me like this thing. Whatever that was, a shadow person, a demon, sleep paralysis, or whatever the hell else it could be. I hope it never comes back. We all like to think if we ever encountered something dark and possibly supernatural that we'd handle it with a level head, realizing the danger and hop on the first nope train to fuck that vill and get away. That's not always what happens. What are you supposed to do when you're trapped between a mattress and something watching in the dark? I always liked scary stories, urban legends and myths, but I never wanted to live in one, to be a first-hand account of something like that. It's so hard to explain. I just hope it never happens again. I know most people won't believe me, but I know this happened. I don't think I could forget if I tried. I just needed to share this somewhere with someone. Even just for my own sanity.